back to Libib's booktube channel. My name is Kaelyn, and today this is going to be a follow-up video of the books I need to read in 2020 edition. So these are all the books that I plan to read, but did I actually read them? And did I actually enjoy them? So stay tuned. Okay, so coming up at number 1 on the list is the On Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, and I actually finished this book. I was so excited to finally get to this book because booktube was hyping it up exponentially, and I honestly loved this book so much. Like, getting those warm fuzzy feels and getting to deal with everything that happens in this book. This book talks about our main character, Olive, and her sister is having a wedding, and so what ends up happening at the wedding is everyone gets food poisoning except for her and her arch nemesis, and they end up going on this honeymoon in Hawaii together, and you can only imagine what ensues afterwards, but that's as much as I want to go into because I don't want to spoil it for anyone else. But this book was so awesome and so great, and one of my favorite books of 2020, and I'm so glad I got to it and I read it. The next book, my friend Mesa has been talking about forever, about how good it is, and I feel like everyone and their mother has read this series, but I am one of those few people that have not read this series. Well, I guess I lied. I started this book, but I never finished it, and I never went back to restart and whatnot. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I am not into fairies, so maybe this is why I still haven't picked this book up, but I want to get to it so I can read A Court of Mist and Fury, because I've read page 20 or 22, one of those 2 pages of A Court of Mist and Fury, and I was like, ooh, hot damn, steamy, okay. Like, that's all I can say about that. But to get to from point A to point B, I didn't complete this book this year. Everyone keeps hyping it up. Everyone is raving about it. The new book is coming out in the series in 2021. So I'm like, I'm gonna table this book for now. The next book that I did not get to either is Light Years by Cass Morgan. In 2020, we had the end of the 100 series, and it fucking broke my heart. Like, completely fucking shattered it. I remember I went to my parents' house to watch one of the episodes, and I was doing laundry there, and all of a sudden, I was like filming myself, and I was like, oh my goodness, this ending of this episode is gonna be so insane. And then it actually frickin' was, because if you know what happens in the last season, you know. So I was really upset by the way it ended and by what happened in the 7th season. I very much was very frickin' salty, but alas, it's over with. Sadness. Will we get our prequel series that we want? Probably not, because the guy who created the 100, Jason Rathbone, is kind of an idiot. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about the 100. Okay, so now back to talking about the Light Years. I've had this book for about a year now, I want to say. It got a little water damaged, so... But this book, I don't know, I was never in the mood to read it. I mean, I always wanted to read it, but with the 100 and the slump that put me through, I was not about to endure that journey on this book as well. So I did not finish this book either. And we're gonna keep on the train of books I did not finish or even start. And that was Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This cover, absolutely beautiful. It also has there is some multimedia as well in this book, but I loved this. I love these authors. The Illuminae trilogy companion series thing, amazing, and I loved it. So once I found out they were writing another book, I was like, I gotta read it. And then the sequel came out and everyone's like, oh, big cliffhanger, and I'm like, I just need to read this. But the fear of not knowing and not having the series complete scares me. But on the bright side, the audiobook has a full-fledged cast, so that's what I'm excited about, but I just couldn't pull through and do it. I was trying to be spacey this year, and obviously I did not get to space nor leave the atmosphere. But the next book, The Universe of Us, keeping it with the universe theme by Libib, I loved and enjoyed so much. This is also one of my favorite books of 2020, and this had so much happiness. This was one of the first books I annotated, so I have a whole video of that in the description box down below, but this book and this author are just so precious to me. I'm so glad I read this in 2020. And last but not least, the last book that I read in 2020 off this list that I actually did read, and that was When I Arrived at the Castle, because look how short this book is. And I had to put it on the list because I knew I was going to read it. But this was weird, strange, and bizarre, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I read it, so that counts, right? Emily Carroll, horror graphic novels, amazing. But this was odd and weird, and I still don't know how I feel about it. But hey, at least I read it. But anyways, those were the top 6 books that I planned to read in 2020, and I did actually complete half of this list, which surprisingly, actually, this was probably the best year that I finished my TBR video. So I was like, I have to do a follow-up video, obviously. So those are the books that I planned to read / I didn't read for 2020. Anyways, did you have a yearly TBR and did you get to those books? Let me know in the comment section down below. But anyways, that is going to be it for today's bookish video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time for a new bookish video.